this team when you have a strong mid jungle and you want to rely on that bot lane to carry through the later stages can be vital. Now we have flooded the bans, and a big talking point already is Lucian left open. So we saw Lucian left open in one game yesterday, and it did end up losing. It was countered by that Kalista Renata. Anyone's Legend looking like they might pick that one up. I will also note Gwen has been left open. Cube had some pretty strong Gwen performances, and the champion is absolutely busted on the current patch. Right, percentage HP and true damage, not like it can get any better for the durability change. And it looks like we won't see the Kalista Renata. They're instead going to go with that Senna. Still very high prior on this pick. And then just to follow on, AL, I would expect to see, if they're going to take the Nami, it'll be here. And then they have a choice. They can either pick a jungler for Xiaohao, or they can look to match the top laner and pick something to answer Gwen. Both have their pros and cons. Obviously, if you leave the jungler to the next rotation, it's going to get banned out. And already we've seen Viego and Wukong gone.
I was just about to say.
Yeah, not being able to answer Gwen obviously has its downsides too.
Yeah, I think you see a lot of very high-profile picks coming into this meta being taken off the board there. I do love the Lee Sin pickup for Xiaohao. Again, we were saying we need something that has some fight and some say on the Rift, and that's a perfect pick for anyone's Legend. It is insta lock-ins pretty much across the board, though, and we have some very, very good sustain coming out for Rare Adams so far, as they got that Senna, but they also locked in the Tom Kench.
And I actually really like this Lissandra ban, because you may think, well, surely Rare Adam will ban away answers to Gwen. But by banning Lissandra, it kind of sets up an Ahri 4th pick, which would be great for Strive, because they're banning away answers. And to me, this means AL might have to actually ban away the Ahri now. And that means they're not banning as many junglers, gives a bit more freedom to Lian. Because remember, we hit on at the start of the day, Lian is such an important factor in this team's success. So I expect an Ahri ban. If we don't get it here, RA will definitely lock that in 4th pick.
I love the Rek'Sai ban targeted toward Lian, though. Definitely a little bit of priority on that one against this jungler. They do also ban away the Graves, so more jungle focus there as well, just to try and pinch the pool a little bit more for Lian, as it will be 4th pick on the docket for Rare Adam, saving that 5th pick obviously as a potential counter pick there, but it is a hover at least right now of the Ahri. I would expect for the counter pick to go through for mid lane, but they could just go ahead and pick it up here.
I think you prioritize the Ahri, right? You ban 2 of the counters in the Sandra and LeBlanc, and then you can actually flex Gwen to jungle if you're really concerned about the jungle pool being short, and then you can pick something for Cube depending on where it gets taken here. Looks like the Swain might be an option brought in. I do say I'm not super big fan of the Swain here, because
don't
Swain
you hush that mouth, Ox. If I hear those words come out of your mouth one more time.
I've played so much Swain, but I know his weaknesses, right? He wants to play into a short-range comp. Senna is a bit of a pain for him.
Let's go!
But obviously will do well into the Gwen. They have locked it in, and now looking to see what they'll take in top lane. Like, bear in mind, AL could be approaching this as in we fully expect the Gwen to go top, therefore we can pick the Kayle and feel comfortable. It could be a flex though, but ultimately we've seen the Gwen be pretty successful. It was the Riven yesterday that came in as an answer, but it looks like it might just be that Gwen top for Cube, which I think makes sense. I think there's higher prior on it in the top lane, and ultimately Kayle isn't going to challenge you too much, so now Lian toying with the idea off that Nocturne.
It would be interesting. I mean, it would be the go button we wanted for both of these junglers. You'd have Lee Sin versus Nocturne, and it is locked in, so that's actually huge. We'll get to that in just a moment, but I do want to go back to the Anyone's Legend composition a little bit. We get the Kayle again, as it's been coming through very prevalently. We get the Swain coming in, but this composition a little bit, I want to break it down, because this is, an iteration of what we will probably be seeing a lot more of in the summer split.
Yeah, I think for AL, we're seeing a lot of new things. Like the Lucian Nami, we saw MSI all the time, but the Swain has been reworked, so people playing a lot more in the mid lane. Kayle, the big beneficiary is the fact that it's easier to scale with the durability changes. You're not going to get dove as much. These are why these picks are coming out, but I feel like in terms of what you're playing for, you have this hard bot lane that can crush if you play it correctly. Mid lane should be comfortable in skirmishes, and in the top lane you have your scaling lane, so it's like a clear divide in terms of where we expect them to be playing for. On the other side, I feel like my one criticism of Ahri's composition, I think the bot lane's fine. The mid lane Ahri, I think it makes sense. You band away picks that can deal with it, and she can kind of play outside Swain's ranges. But the Nocturne, I'm not a huge fan, because Nocturne, obviously, what are you going to do with it? You're going to dive in, right? You're playing into a Kayle, who, if you dive onto a target and try and assassinate them, Kayle will just make that so much more difficult. And also, I said I wasn't too sure about the Swain here, because he doesn't function as well into longer range comps. Knocked In is great for Swain to play into, right? If he dives in on you, you just end up draining his health, and you will probably win that 1v1, especially if there's more people around you. You just get all that healing in. So I'm not a big fan. I understand Leon's champion pool was definitely like thinned out, a lot of bans towards him. But it's going to be interesting to see how he plays out this Nocturne. I think other than that, RA have a pretty solid composition, but I really want to see how effective Betty and Chocho can be on this Lucian Nami. I said earlier today, the Nami isn't exactly something I'd expect Chocho to be fantastic on, but this lane can dominate.
We gonna find out real quick as the first best of 3 of the night. Day number 2 of week 1. Anyone's Legend versus Rare Adam kicks off now.
Oh, man, I am ready. So we did get a chance to talk a bit about the Lucian Nami yesterday, and we could talk a bit more about it here. But I think this is like it's kind of an easier lane for the Lucian Nami. The reason Kalista Renata works well is because Lucian Nami wants to take short, bursty trades and then out-sustain you, right? Between the Lucian and Nami, early levels, like level 3 is when your combo comes online. If you do a full combo and onto someone full HP, they're not going to die from 100 to 0. And then you're left just like auto-attacking at the end of it. It's kind of awkward. So what Betty and Chocho want to do is like do short, bursty trades. But RA's bot lane has some sustain. But the problem is they don't really have too much threat in return unless they land either of their CC. So I expect this to be a pretty dominant lane for Betty and Chocho. But if you see mistakes, if you see one of them get caught by a skill shot, like the root from iBoy or the knock by Yuanja, that's where you could see a kill come in return.
Tongue lash coming out of some early trading in the bottom lane, but I do want to go back to the main point we've been talking about this whole time, these junglers as well. And you see the Lee Sin, where I feel like you have a lot of utility throughout the rest of the game. Leyen on the Nocturne as well. You do have the Paranoia itself. But how do you feel like Nocturne fits into this? Because you have so much sustain. You have so much survivability now with this new patch. And the Nocturne definitely was feeling good when you could 100 to 0 somebody really quick. But do you feel like this pick right now is a key piece to the RA composition? Do you feel like it's going to thrive?
I think it's difficult. I think one thing is that the way you tend to see Lucian Nami play in the mid game is they will wait for someone to show up on the mid wave, and then they'll dash in Gale Force, and you just one-hit them. It plays really effectively around picks. Nocturne can kind of answer that quite well, because if you're hovering nearby, you can punish that. But I think in team fights, he's going to have a harder time. I feel like the reason they took it was because the pool was thin so much. But like, as I said before, into the Swain, into the Kale, these teams are fantastic at dealing with Nocturne. Even the Lee Sin can just kick him away if he's really problematic. The nice thing is that they do have follow-up, right? Strive and the Ari should be able to join with you in the dive. Cube, if he finds a good flank angle, should be there. But, I feel like this Nocturne pick could really be volatile. And ultimately, Xiaohao should be the one making the earlier impact. So, got to see what he can do with this Lee Sin that they did prioritize.
Obviously, new patch differences. But for me, it's always been Nocturne is very, very useless for jumping ahead early. Meanwhile, speaking of bottom lane, a little bit of trades back and forth. They did get a couple summoner spells burned. The exhaust from Yuanja. But on the side of anyone's Legend, they burned the cleanse and the ignite.
Yeah, so cleanse to match the exhaust. I don't think it was really necessary there, but maybe Betty concerned about getting caught into the trade. He did dash forward, which can leave you vulnerable, and the dash early is such a long cooldown. But now we're seeing a pretty heavy contestation over the scuttle. Bot lane priorities there for AL, so they should just be able to secure this one. Unfortunately, Xiaohao can pick that one up. He is a little bit behind on his clear as a result, and Lean's just going to go top and pick up his scuttle, whereas Xiaohao still needs to clear his raptors, still needs to clear his Krog. So Lean with a pretty swift clear on this one in comparison.
And honestly, some good reservedness. I guess a little bit of respect given over as well, realizing we don't have to fight for this singular scuttle crab here early on. We can let Leyen get a little bit further along, as you were saying earlier. Xiaohao should be the one that tries to push that momentum forward, and having a little bit of time to have this bottom side as a focus, I think, will be super important for anyone's Legend. And we were talking a little bit about the bottom lane and the focus on that bottom lane into the later parts of the game as well.
Yeah, and I think if you can find momentum for the Nami Lucian, it can really go a long way. Oh, this is a bait. This is a great... Oh, and Yuan's just respectful. Like, I would have thought he would go in with a W there to try and look for the all-in. I guess they do have exhaust. Well, it's not even available, but they don't have ignite, so kind of cautious. But Xiaohao right here and
waiting. Oh, he tries to go in. The damage is connecting on iBoy, but they're playing it safe. And this is the durability patch. Health bars do not go down as quickly as they once did.
yeah, not able to find the base damage, and Yuanji doing a good job of body blocking, so they'll just be able to pick up this wave. AL still get the crash, so it's not too bad for them, but I think this is the thing with this center, Tom, unless you can really damage the center, you're not going to have much of a time. Tom will take second win, Doran shield. He has the gray health. He gets health back on his Q. His sustain is insane, and he's so hard to kill. What was Gromp doing there?
That's a good question.
What?
I wasn't going to say anything, but you were in your analytical talks. I'm just over here play-by-play scratching my brain. Like,
That's
wait,
not
what?
Tom Kench. That was a Gromp. I was like, is there a Syndra in the game? Why is he just there? Like,
It's
I'm
the
so
new meta.
confused.
It's the new meta.
I'm so lost.
Well, hey.
Yeah, that's just... It's okay. It's gone now, right?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
It's okay. Your fears are over,
Like,
Ox. It's okay.
I was so
Gromp
worried.
is
I
not
was just
coming to
seeing
hurt
things.
you. I promise.
I was so worried. I was just seeing things. I was like, what is going on in my brain? That's a Gromp, not a Swain, right?
On Gromp.
That
I do see Leanne taking out the first dragon here, although they realize they need to pull it out, but anyone's legend are here to contest it. Leanne getting very, very low. Who's going to get the dragon first? Leanne trying to wait around. It does go, but it's to Yuyanja, and then the kill goes over as Yuyanja picks it up, too. It's traded back, though. Forge picks up his own, and that demonic ascension was hugely timed. It is still 1-for-1, but the objective goes to Rare Adam.
Yeah, Rare Adam got the objective, and a great charm from Strive.
Oh, nice catch. Nice
Yanja.
catch here on the side as they were coming back to lane. And that's a kill for anyone's legend, Betty. Let's see if Highboy can turn it back around a little bit. He's getting some damage on a Cho-Cho, but that's going to be it. And anyone's legend take a little bit of advantage of a potentially sleeping Rare Adam bot lane. Oh, my God.
Yeah, now
Highboy
Highboy could be in trouble. The exhaust used as well, but Betty cleanses it. Gets rid of that debuff and is able to burst through Yuanji, who just kind of caught off guard there. Didn't expect to be jumped on from that position. Really solid play coming out to find that opportunity. So we get the replay. And honestly, Leon looks so low. This looks like he might just instantly go down. But this charm from Strive is fantastic. Stops him from being able to follow up on the kill. They end up taking him down. And Forge is doing a ton of damage here. Oh, we don't get a time to talk.
Yeah, we do have the kill. Ultimate being popped in the top lane. ZDZ trying to dodge out. Can he do so? The outplays. Land taking a tower shot as well. ZDZ survives.
And you know what? That's a durability change, right? Has the extra survivability, doesn't end up going down, not just quite enough damage. And obviously, they do not want to follow under tower any further. So the Kale, able to survive, does end up burning Flash and that ultimate, but will not go down.
Yeah, we were, trying to break down a little bit of that crazy play in the bottom lane, but top lane is having a good time in its own right. ZDZ, I can't believe, honestly, Cube made it out alive, barely getting away from that last tower shot. But you got to see a little bit of that extra tower damage we're seeing. Land take one shot, and it was like half of his health. You got to be careful on those dives, as you were mentioning earlier on.
Yeah, so just talk a bit about the tower changes. So basically, oh, we get an all in. I don't get time.
That's a huge knockup, though. Iboy is taking so much damage, and Betty, he gets the kill. It's turned back, and now we got supportal combat. It's level 5 versus level 5. Yuyanja is licking away, but Cho-Cho is trying to get away himself. He lands the bubble, and he will walk to his tower. Abyssal dive lands, and now the charm is going to not even need to be used. Strive picks it up.
Ends up being a win for the side of RA. The culling does come down. That's enough to finish a Fireboy. No ult available for RA's bot lane means they can't survive. Yuanji's ult would have been fantastic there. But in the end, Strive comes down to clean it up and get the kill. But now Leanne looking to contest this Herald.
This is what I missed, Ox. This is the LPL. It don't stop. We are always fighting. We're always contesting. Leanne, even just in the face of anyone's legend, realizing they didn't have as many maybe good graces that they would have liked to have for that objective, but it is the fact that they are showing in that position. And anyone's legend does pick up the Rift Herald, but it has been a contested first 9.5 minutes.
Yeah, Strive's roam bot lane ends up giving them the window to go for that. Now, something I do want to talk about a bit is we are getting the mandate build from Swain that we saw yesterday. I don't get time.
You don't get time. You never get time. How have you not learned this as Leanne gets the kill on the Forge in mid lane?
Okay, maybe we'll take this opportunity. So the reason the mandate has kind of come in is Swain can proc it with his E, with his W, and with the pop and his R. They all apply slows. But usually you end up picking up a Rylai's. That means your ult just constantly procs it. And then you are relying on your allies to do the follow-up damage to make sure you're getting the full damage of the procs. But you also get movement speed, I think is a big thing to note. And Swain loves movement speed because staying in range of people, running them down, that is what you're looking for. So that's why we've seen this build come out. It is cheaper to get the first item, not as like individually strong like in the 1v1 as Leandry's, for example, which is the more common build we see in solo queue. But it's clear that this build has been making its way around scrims in the LPL and doing pretty well.
Yeah, apparently as it's going to show its face here. I think that's huge, especially with the tie-in to the rest of the team and the team fight as well. And we've already seen some influence from Forge in those first couple fights. We'll see how that continues out. Cube, though, himself getting poked out on the top side, still has this big weight to push in against CDZ. We do still have, objectives to think about. In about 25 seconds, we have the next dragon on the board. It'll be second dragon of the game if RA can choose it. It'll be on their path towards an early soul at least, but we'll see what kind of focus we get towards that as Lan is towards the top side, probably looking towards helping out Cube a little bit.
And I think at this point we can talk a little bit about
Cube
the
get
bot
here.
lane.
Hold on, how did Cube get here? I wish I could like go back in time. He just got behind ZDZ. He is going to engage a little bit early. You have Paranoia coming up just a moment for Lian, but it's going to be too late.
And with the fact that they have that heavy trade top side, they assume that maybe Lian's there. They start to contest vision on the bot side. Dragon is up. Gonna look for mid prio here first. And they always have priority in the bot lane. This is the point where Lucian, I feel like gets really scary. I know people talk about the laning prowess, but Gale Force on the Lucian, the extra damage, the culling as well, means you can just absolutely nuke someone. You have the second dash to get on top of them. They don't quite have mandate yet for the Nami, but RA's bot lane have to be super cautious. And now
there we go.
See this coming down.
Lian popping the Paranoia a little early. Abyssal Dive will not connect, though, but they're trying to get the every damage here on a Chocho. They don't even get him. Lian dies, and everything is turning up for anyone's legend. The charge from the Rift Herald gets off. They get a kill on top of it.
Yeah, so they do deny the effective use of the Herald. The gold just goes over the Xiaohao. They don't get gold on the Betty. They don't get more plates than just the two. But they sacrifice the jungler and they give up Drake. So I'm not really sure it's worth it overall, but it does mean that AL get a little bit less than they'd hope with the Herald, but we're now even on those dragons, and it is going to be that Infernal Soul. So when you already have a lot of bursty champions, can make the difference, can help you find that all-in potential if you are able to get that one, but still 3 dragons away for either team.
And I want to go back to the conversation you were having a little bit earlier about the explosiveness that Lucian Nami can have. But we've been seeing that from seemingly level 2, level 3, right? Like Betty has been chunking iBoy when he gets a couple connections off, when he's got Chocho there with the empowered auto attacks as well. And I think that's something that is going to get a little bit worse as we go through. iBoy has to be careful, realizing you're still scaling up as this Senna.
Yeah, you will get stronger later, but this is kind of why I like the Calista Renata as a good answer in lane, because it's actually very hard to burst them out with the W, particularly for the Renata. And in the longer trades, you get the value of the spear, the Ren stacked up that can win the all-in. The problem is Senna kind of wants to trade like Q auto. That is how you trade as a Senna to get your passive proc. And Lucian can just beat you up every time you look for those. The Tom Kench can't really do too much to Lucian unless like Lucian oversteps and walks into the W. So it has just been Betty taking over. And now this is the spike that I love to talk about. Gale Force and Lucian, Imperial Mandate on Chocho. So the damage is going to be absolutely crazy. If anyone missteps, you will just go down.
I don't think I've ever seen double Imperial Mandate on a team. At least not. Maybe
I don't think I have either.
In competitive,
but
maybe in solo queue.
When you have the Lucian, right, and then you also have the Kale as well, who's going to be doing AoE damage, it feels like it'll be pretty easy to proc.
Yeah.
But it definitely favors more the team fights. I think that's fine for the Nami, because Nami's only going to be in team fights. But obviously Swain, you lose a bit of value in the 1v1, because obviously you don't have an ally to proc. But yeah, I mean, this point is a big spike for AL. They're currently down a little bit in gold. I don't think that's too much of an issue. But right now, it's just continuing that momentum, playing around that bot lane who are so strong.
Yeah, a little bit of damage being done here between the two top laners. That's something I do want to highlight is, we were talking about the anyone's legend itself, the composition in some rights. But one of the big points we had coming into this one was, anyone's legend themselves had solid team fights last split. They, against good teams. And the fact that they opt into a very team fight centered composition here into this first game, I think it benefits their strengths a lot, and you're starting to see that a little bit. The question is, can they force RA into these team fights, into these objective focus situations, and pull off those solid team fights we know them for?
Yeah, and I think finding the windows, finding the opportunities is going to be important, because there's lots of potential for RA to pick a favored number in counter. The fact that you have the paranoia, you have the Ari, you can quickly join a fight. You also have iBoy on the center who can ult from a big distance. It's very easy for RA to go into a fight with there being a 3v2, a 4v2. That's where AL can struggle. So AL finding opportunities to group is going to be important, and not getting caught out or misstepping so that they can get picked apart.
So I guess the question, we've talked a lot about like the team fight potential for anyone's legend, but for me, when I'm looking at Rare Adam, right, we set up their composition a little bit, but it's a lot different approach to team fights. I feel like you have some solid sustain there. You also have a lot of pieces that can kind of ebb and flow and try to get picks out, try to find separation within the team fight. And I think that's where RA is going to have a hard decision to make on how they want to approach these team fights, as we see Rift Herald #2 go over to anyone's legend.
Yeah, able to secure that one. RA do rotate up, but are a little bit slow on it, so not able to contest. Second Rift Herald, not as valuable as the first. I think it goes without saying, but could use that. We have a minute 20 until that next dragon, so I expect AL to go for the resets now. They can then throw down the Herald mid to provide some pressure, and they can kind of lean into the river. And I still want to see, as I talked about this Lucian Nami, try and look for some picks based around using their tools. It can be a bit risky when there's a Nocturne who exists. I did kind of hit on that earlier. If you do overstep, the Nocturne flies in, that's when you can die. But the burst will be really insane right now. So if anyone does miss position, you can just blow them up.
You know, doing my notes and prep for this split, you know, I was getting myself mentally ready for long games and without a lot of kills. You know, I was like, oh, we might get those every now and then. I need more. All right, it's 8 kills in 17 minutes. Come on, Ox. Where is the craziness? I realize we're in like a very sustained, very durable meta. It is going to be a little bit more difficult, but I am very excited because, all jokes aside, it does lead to more explosive end of game fights and those big team fights around objectives that we know and love here in the LPL. And I am joking a lot, but I think this leads up to this, for this specific game, a lot, because that's where we're going to start getting the explosiveness in this series.
Yeah, the bit on this is... Wait, I just want to hold off on that point, because this is Betty looking for that sort of bursty play from the Lucian. Anyone who steps up around mid could just end up going down.
They've been playing with so much respect.
Yeah, they have the Tom there. They have 4 members there. It's going to be very hard to make that happen. But AL, Dragon is up. They're going to throw down the Herald mid to try and force some priority and have the TP in. We're going to get that fight you were hoping for, Mazel.
I am here for it. Do land a little bit of a root there from iBoy, trying to catch out Xiaohao on the side. Rift Herald will charge down. Not going to get too much more, though. They can't even get the outer tower. We still haven't had a tower fall yet, Ox. And now we get the setup in front of the Dragon for one of these teams to grab the second Dragon of the game for themselves.
Yeah, and I think we've got to see if they can connect onto the Lucian. Betty, a pretty big threat at the moment. See what he can do in this fight. Dragon has been started.
Yep, Jojo on the side there, all ultimates ready to go. There's the tidal wave across just to try and set the board right. Paranoia comes through as well. The team fight's going to ensue. Dragon goes over to Lian. And how about the fight after? Demonic Ascension is proccing here for Forge. He's up front in the fight, but Strive has found the back line here, but they can't get the damage down. Forge still healing up, still front lining it up. It's still Demonic Ascensioning it. They can't take him down. Now Strive is caught out. Betty not going to go over the wall to follow it up. Both teams come away with health bars still intact, and nobody dies.
Nobody dies, but already the clear winner. They get the Dragon and they get priority on mid. Should be able to take this tier 1 down, despite the fact AL had that second Herald. First tower will fall in favor of RA, and it will be that vital mid tier 1. AL still having the Kale ultimate, still having the Dragon Rage from the Lee Sin, not finding windows to use those. And sure, they answer back to the tower, but you're not getting as much gold. It's not as important in terms of map presence. RA pretty happy with how that one panned out.
I realized, you know, RA winning out in that situation, getting that mid-tier tower, mid-tier 1 tower first. But I will say, I may be a play-by-play, okay, but give me this 1 point, all right? ZDZ is almost 12. 12 is 4 levels away from 16. If I do my math right, that is pretty close to being unstoppable.
But I have something else I want to bring up that is more pertinent. We haven't ever Frost Gwen.
Ooh, that is true, actually. Is that something you've seen at all in your prep for the offseason? I know I haven't.
Not really. I've heard of other people building it, but to me, I feel like Riftmaker just gives you so much. I mean, I guess you still get health with this. I don't think the mana's that important.
CC setup.
The root can be useful. I'm pretty sure you saw him use it earlier. Oh, sorry, you're getting a fight.
The kickback Xiao ends iBoy's life, sending it right into the gullet of Betty, and Yuyanja himself is going to be a fried catfish tonight.
Great pick setup, and Land wasn't in position to follow up with the ult, so they will start up this Baron. TP in from ZDZ. They're wanting to make this happen. Will we get the Everfrost Gwen TPing in to respond? That is the question.
Hey, you got RA collapsing on both sides. Leanne is still here. Strive goes in with the Spirit Rush, but Leanne is the target you have to watch. He has Paranoia available. Betty goes over the wall. Betty is blowing up Leanne, and the Baron does not matter. It is the kill that comes through. No steal today for RA, and the Baron goes over to anyone's legend.
And AL using that snappy burst to get those initial picks, then take out Leanne, not allow him into the pit. They secure the Baron. It's a fantastic win for them. Put themselves in a big advantage. Looks like the Everfrost Gwen wasn't able to be a factor. So we see the visions of Empire coming out on iBoy. And honestly, iBoy no flash. And the kick is fantastic because it means Yuyanja can't just gobble him up. But Yuyanja's life is also forfeit. The W on Swain is like such a powerful slow. If it connects, you're probably... it's such a good pick tool, right? You just W from a distance and can lock someone down. And now I feel like AL, they're in prime position. I have the Baron, but also look at the items. We have Collective for Betty for the extra burst. We have the Rylai's on Swain. So now any ability will proc Mandate, and your ult will consistently apply the initial damage and allow your teammates to follow up. Plus, it slows them down, drains them, keeping them in place. This is why I kind of don't agree with the Everfrost from Q, because I feel like you need the Riftmaker in these extended fights up against the likes of, you know, a Swain, a Kayle. I'm not really sure.
Something I fell in love with last split was the propensity for 80 carries in the LPL to just use all their abilities forward, no matter what. Like taking 1v1s like crazy in bot lane, fighting up, using Gale Force very aggressively. And I love that we're still getting that. The fact that Betty felt confident enough, dash up the wall, Gale Force immediately, calling right to the face of Lan to end his life. That was huge. And now we'll see if Lan can get a little bit of bounce back as they do find Xiao Hao. Tidal Wave is not going to do much from Toto.
Managed to find the pick, and ultimately Xiao Hao ends up getting sacrificed. Doesn't have a chance to ward up over the wall, but in the meantime, we also have Cube applying some pressure in the bot lane.
The Nashor's Tooth.
Nashor's Tooth coming in huge in those split push scenarios. And yeah, Cube farming up to be a monster, honestly. We've seen how strong Gwen can be in the late stage of the game. Obviously, it's up against a Kayle, who is level 14, closing on that level 16. So,
Wait, I think whose scales go a little bit higher? I feel like it's a really tough question to ask.
I feel like it's a tough one. I would think, in theory, I would give the edge to the Kayle, but it also depends how the team fights play out. They have different roles, right?
Exactly.
The Kayle's like a DPS, and she will have like insane DPS, but Cube obviously has the W and is just immune. So, you know, I would say the Kayle does outscale, but Cube is definitely going to be no slouch in the later stages of the game. And both of them haven't really opted into these encounters, right? 0-0-1 for the Kayle, 0-0-0 for Cube, but they have farmed up and are ready to join in now. There's going to be this second dragon for AL, I would think, but we'll see if RA want to contest this. I don't think they'll be able to get there in time.
Yeah, we got some pings coming in, but they're very late to the party here as the dragon already sub 2,000. Does get burned down by Xiao Hao. Root does connect onto Forge. iBoy about to get kicked back again. The connection does not hit, and now RA feel like they can pounce. Strive gets one kill to Xiao Hao first, and now you got all the AoE, the needleworks coming in, and all the damage. ZDZ can't do anything on the side here. Forge actually taking up a ton. ZDZ survives, and Forge still has the demonic ascension, but he dies right after. ZDZ gets baited forward into the fight, and that will be an eventual ace for RA. Actually, do they just leave it? Oh my god! Oh my god! ZDZ! No way! He gets the double! He's not gonna find the triple just yet. Leanne knows he needs to head for the hills.
You can't mess with the Kayle. ZDZ kind of out, manages to turn it around, and AL, we're the ones to get the dragon. That could have been a disaster for them, but ZDZ makes the fight end up going a lot more favorably than otherwise. Look at the health of Cube and Leanne, by the way. Definitely could not approach that one. I think, honestly, RA just disrespect for the Kayle. Like, we haven't seen this champion all game. What can she do? Well, that is what ZDZ can do.
I was gonna say that conversation gets a little bit more different after that last shenanigans that we just saw, but it was ZDZ coming out on top. I thought he was dead to rights. I thought that was gonna be a full ace for RA, but turning it around, finding a double kill in the end, and getting oh so close to that carry potential.
I mean, actually kind of saw some of the value of the Everfrost on the Gwen coming out here. The kick doesn't work because of the gobble, but we see Cube, Everfrost into the Q there, and the odds guarantee they connect, guarantee they hit. And then the extended fight, it does look really favored towards RA in this situation. Forge does a ton of AoE damage, as does ZDZ. And people are getting low, so they start to be a little bit precautious. But then it's this moment, right? ZDZ still alive, trying to get some damage on Cube, but look at the sidestep. So Fiercely ends up sidestepping, baiting out the dash from Cube, sidestep the Q from Tom Kench, and then iBoy's like, I can finish this, I have the range, misjudges the damage. ZDZ with the Rift Maker able to get the healing in, and then RA scattered to the winds. Like, we cannot handle this.
You can see, like, I feel like the moment communication from RA, they're like, no, we can go. Yes, we can. No, we need to leave. iBoy's like, no, I can do it. And then he dies. And then unfortunate progression for RA, but they are right back into it. And I think you have to be.
Oh my lord.
Look at that damage. Oh my god.
Yeah, I was saying that both champions were strong, but the Kale outvalued later. Yeah, that I feel like that team fight was a fantastic indicator of that exact process. Now Cube will just dodge away. Like, Cube had such a massive impact in that fight, but ZDZ on his Kale, and that was pre-level 16, by the way. ZDZ is pretty close to hitting that level. That is when things get scary for RA.
It is, and you're getting 3 item spikes as well. You have the Lord Dominix completed for Betty as well, and I think these team fights are going to start getting a little bit crazier. But RA realized, you know, they can look for picks. They can try to find somebody who's maybe feeling a little bit overconfident as they do look to mid lane. Paranoia was available. They don't pull the trigger on Betty and Toto just yet.
Yeah, I think you have to be a little bit precautious. If you overstep, go
16.
overconfident on a window. There we go. There is the level 16 Kale. And something to note is this is the AP. I mean, it still has some on-hit aspects with the Wit's End, but we have the Rift Maker. Yesterday, we saw all AD Kale. Personally, I prefer the AP build. Your W benefits more from the AP. Scales very effectively, and I feel like Rift Maker gives you that sustain in fights as well, so it's not like you're losing out in terms of like lifesteal in the AD build. But ZDZ is super strong now, and every time they take a fight, not only do you have to be aware of the Kale ultimate, but you have to be cautious about what happens in the extended fight up against this Kale.
They just took a full tier 2 tower down there as well. That's huge. And now AL positioning around the Baron, get some of this vision game down. They do have TP available for ZDZ if they want to pull the trigger, and they do. They just start up the Baron here, Ox.
Yeah, level 16 Kale, and they're like, it's go time, let's make it happen. Now, iBoy actually just coming out of base, does have the ultimate, but this might just rely on a steal from the end, and he has no
walking
vision
away. They got
area.
nothing to say about it. That is a Baron being secured by anyone's legend. Land walks back into it, but is not going to be able to find the steal on that one, and that is an objective secured by the legend.
Yeah, and now Kale in the side lane with the Baron, even more threatening. Going to be more of an issue. Has just finished that Nash's Tooth as well. So 3-item Kale, level 16, truly online. And something else to note is everyone talks about the passive benefits you get from being level 16. You also have your ultimate being a 3-second duration. And bear in mind, being an AP Kale, your ultimate will do decent damage compared to the AD Kales we saw yesterday. So very difficult to find a team fight. Charm connects, but Forge doesn't really take much damage.
Forge also has the Zanyas now. So that setup, that Demonic Ascension grab is going to be huge for them. They're getting poked down a little bit. The Never move was huge to get Strive a little bit of damage onto him. Now we're setting up in front of the dragon. But I believe AL just say, we don't need the 3rd dragon of the game. We don't need Soul Point. We're just going to go for your base.
Yeah, I mean, the game may not last long enough for RA to cash in on that soul, so they give it up. They don't have position on the objective. Instead, they push up mid. And yeah, this is definitely an Inhib tower. We'll see if RA can defend, but with no RE ultimate, this feels like a hard fight to take.
They might force it, though. Inhib does go down. Now the re-engage. Xiao finds a kick onto Strive. Strive gets Gale Force down, and that's Betty coming through clutch. Forge making the separation happen. The Never move was huge, and they're just slowly but surely taking down Rare Adam, 1 bite at a time. The paranoia comes out, but Leyen is the one that should be paranoid. Cube and iBoy, the last defenses here, but iBoy gets blown up by ZDZ. Cube goes golden, but not for long. He will die and bite the dust like the rest of Rare Adam as their base crumbles to the ground and anyone's legend claim the first game.
And honestly, there was some back and forth in that one, but Anyone's Legend really came in at the end. They got the Lucian Nami for Betty and Chocho. Definitely found the advantages in lane and continued to look for those picks later on. But the objective setup was good. And then, and when we came to team fights, and when I gave the edge to Kale, she really just hit like a truck there. Absolutely annihilated every